Vicky, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what your business, Little Piggy Marketing, does?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Vicky Stokes. So my business is Little Piggy Marketing. I started the business 4 years ago, off the back of a friend that wanted a favour for a business that he was working on or in, and said, "We need some help. We need some marketing help. Can you just come in and chat to them?" I still have that client now and have built the business around wanting to support small business owners. And really, I had to go full time 2 years ago because I had so much demand and I enjoyed what I was doing versus working in the corporate world. So I thought I'm going to take the dive. And I've not really looked back since, to be honest. I've got over 10
Amazing.
years experience in marketing, but it's very different when you're working with small businesses to working in a business.
Yeah. What were you doing before?
So I worked for lots of different businesses, hence why I've got quite good experience
Yeah.
for working with different industries now. So I used to work in education. So originally, when I went to university, I was a student ambassador. So I was kind of that person showing everyone around on the open days, and I did that as a sort of part-time job whilst I was studying. And then I got to know the admissions team there and worked. My first job, I got my first job a week before I graduated in recruitment and admission, so taking people's applications for the university. And then I did a little bit of marketing with the team there and realized that actually marketing was where my passion was. So I did my professional qualification with the sponsorship of the college that I was working with. And from then on, really, I worked with events, publications like magazine companies. I worked in health and beauty. I worked for a racing related gambling company.
Well, that sounds fun.
Um, that was a startup company. That was really, really
Really?
fun.
Wow.
That was very
Yeah.
different. Startups are very, very different.
How so?
Um,
Just that
it's very
energy.
fast paced. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely the energy and it's the kind of the demand to get stuff going quite quickly with very little to work with.
Was that when you knew that you wanted to start your own things when you're in that environment?
I think that because I've worked in quite fast-paced environments, so I actually worked for an events company after that, one of the biggest events companies in the world. So I did a lot of traveling, and I also worked with lots of different people from across the world, some of which came from the US, which typically I find people that work in the US are just very fast-paced in the way they work.
Yeah.
It's a very different culture there,
They are
and
very
I
business minded,
found
aren't they?
yeah, I
It's quite
found it really
incredible.
exciting. Yeah, it is. It is because, they're very driven people and ambitious. And I think that kind of
Yeah.
reflects how
Well,
I am.
yeah. And it reflects the companies. Like if you think of every big company, they're going to all be American, aren't they? Most of them.
Yeah,
Apple,
absolutely.
Microsoft, Google,
Yeah, they're all
all
big. They're all
American.
big. They're all in the US. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of where it came from really, and what I've done since I left.
Amazing. So, what sort of services do you offer as part of Little Piggy Marketing? Is it like
So it's
SEO and
quite
copywriting and things like
Yeah,
that?
it's
Yeah.
quite varied. So what I pride myself in is really flexible services because what I've understood as I started the business, I kind of had an idea. I was like, oh, I'll just kind of do marketing, and I realized that was too fluffy. And I've kind of refined it based on what I enjoy doing and also what I think is quite important, which is strategy. So I help businesses to kind of come to, I guess, like a master plan of kind of what they want to do. And then I can either help them along the way or I can kind of leave them to it and they can just kind of call on me if they need me.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, which I think is really important because every business is different. Every business owner has their own marketing skills or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and some people don't want to get involved at all, which is fair enough.
Yeah. You like creating the initial product, but to have time for the marketing.
Yeah, and also some people just go social media, I want nothing to do with it. No, thank you very
All right. So,
much.
do you offer social media, like sort of like
Yeah, so
content creating in a way, or
yeah, content creation,
web design?
scheduling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do a little bit of web design. So I work with like a really strong network of sort of what I would call specialists. So like there's a graphic designer that I work with who I used to work with when I worked for the events company. So I go to her for any graphic design because she's now freelance. And then I have a web developer that I work really closely with. So I kind of have experts that I draw on, and I think that that's really important for business in general as well. So not just for the work that I do, but to support my business.
Yeah.
So obviously I have an accountant. I have
Yeah.
a virtual assistant as well, which is like one of the biggest steps that I took that has really, really helped. So she does
A
all my
virtual
admin
assistant. All
stuff.
right. Okay. That's
Yeah. So
interesting.
she's a real person. She's not like an AI person. So it's essentially just like having an assistant, but she just works virtually. So
All
she
right.
does all of my admin stuff. So my emails, for example, she manages. Sometimes she does some of my socials for me.
Yeah.
Although that's a bit more difficult for me because I have to have it absolutely perfect because
Yeah.
of
Matching your
the
brand and
nature of
yeah.
yeah, the nature of the
Yeah.
work I do. So I think it's really important if you are starting a business to have the professionals to help you as well,
Yeah.
which can sometimes feel like a big investment, but
Yeah.
it's really important because it's there's a lot of
Well, you can't do
guesswork
everything on
on
your own,
this.
can you? And it just pushes you
No,
on.
no, and I can't remember who told me this, but someone said to me once, like, you should make sure that you spend time on on your business, not just in your business.
All right.
So I do try and take time out to sort of develop the business, but essentially that's not paid time. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to balance that with maybe paying somebody else to do it for you.
Yeah. When did you hire people in your company, or is it just are you like solopreneur?
No, so all subcontractors. So basically, I work with a client, and let's say a client wants a flyer designed, I will
Yeah.
work with the graphic designer to come up with the product, or the
Okay.
client can be as involved in that process as they want to. Again, flexibility is everything
Yeah.
with my business. But essentially, I pay the designer
Yeah.
um, as my contractor, and then I charge the client.
Sure. How do you make sure the people that you're using as graphic designers, for instance, add value to your brand instead of detracting from it?
Sure. So that's where I have people that help me with kind of things like contracts. So I make sure that there is something in place that means that person can't then take my clients. And I make sure as well that my briefs are really clear. So I speak to the client. Sometimes the client actually wants to talk to them directly, which I always encourage if they want to get involved. And then really it's just experience working with those people. So, like, for example, the graphic designer, I used to actually manage her when I was working for the
Really?
events company that I used to work for. So for me, it's like building a good network of people that I trust, which does take time.
Yeah. Leading up to starting Little Piggy Marketing, what were sort of the skills that you've learned which has really helped you in starting the company? More specifically, like running the company, the
Mhm.
client side of things, and sort of less the marketing.
Um, I think for me, it was kind of a lot of it came honestly from like Googling stuff. So, like, I don't think I really had the knowledge that I think is needed to start a business. It's not really something that's necessarily encouraged or is very well known. So even though I did business studies as an A level, I don't feel like it really prepared me for like all the stuff. It prepared me for like the business planning side of things. So, like, once I got the
Yeah.
business up and running, and I was like, okay, right, so I need to make sure like I have a website. I need to make sure that like I've got objectives of what I want to achieve in the business over the next year or so. Like the kind of the structured stuff. But like there was nowhere that tells you like how to get a trademark. Like, how do you do that? Like, what do you need to ask an accountant? And then like what then happens with the accountant? What do they do? What do they not do? Like, again, contracts, that's a massive part of it. Insurance, like where do you go for insurance? So um I kind of asked questions of the people that I knew. In terms of the skills I already had, I would say like I'm a particularly organized person, which I think is really, really important. It's like keeping all your paperwork in one place, making sure that like you have your emails tidied, so when you're starting the business, you kind of know where you are with certain things. So there's a lot of transferable skills there. Like I said, like I did do business studies, and there was some elements of it that I think about now, like the SWOT analysis. Like I used to think that was so useless, but actually it is quite good to do. And I mean, I'd use
You
it.
might have to explain what that means to me. I mean, Harrison's studying business, but
Strengths, weaknesses,
I didn't go to
opportunities, and
university.
threats.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you just analyze your business.
Analyzes, yeah.
Okay.
Or different things you can
Yeah.
apply it to. In university, so you went to uni. What course did you take in uni then?
So I did a course in English language and linguistics because I originally wanted to be a teacher. That was what I wanted to do. And then
Okay.
after I did 3 years at uni, I was like, hell no, I'm not doing another year. So I left and I got that job at the university. So that was kind of helpful.
And that's where the marketing came in.
Yeah, it was like a couple
Yeah,
of years
from
down
that
the
job.
line. I just sort of
Okay.
dabbled in it, and then I had the opportunity to do some more studying that they'd sponsor me for, so I didn't have to pay for it, which was like a big part of it as well, and I could do it alongside work. So that was good.
And when actually starting the company, so sort of in that before you became full-time in it, what are the sort of things that you learn past then, which you'd say are really significant?
I think for me the biggest part of it was building a business whilst I was working full time. Like that was
must have been
probably
stressful.
yeah, that was probably the hardest period of my life, entire life. Like it was a lot, especially looking back now and thinking like I was definitely doing more than what my hours were anyway on my full-time job, and like I was literally sat at my desk every night and all the weekends, the amount of things I had to give up to make it work. But I was lucky because I had my husband at home, so he did all of the other stuff that needed to be done at home. So yeah, I think for me it's like learning that you can actually do it. You can do more than you think you can. And actually sometimes you just have to sit and prioritize and decide like where do you want to be, and does it mean just like a small period of time where you have to just work your ass off just to get to where you need to be, and like long term is it going to be worth it? And now I'm reaping the rewards of that 2 years that I did it for 2.5 years. I can't believe I did it for 2.5 years.
That's incredible.
In that 2.5 years, how did you sort of cope with that big workload? Is there anything that you did do in them 2.5 years which you don't do anymore, which helped you get through it?
I think it was knowing when I did need to take a break, because actually, like, it got to the point where sometimes I had like really burnt myself out, and I was like, I'm literally useless. Like, I can't do anything if I'm not well, because that's another thing. If you're the only person in your business, if you are not okay, the work does not get done. So not only was I really careful, because obviously I still had a full-time job at that point. So obviously I wanted to ensure that I was still doing my job, because I was very dedicated to the job I was doing at that point. But I was also dedicated to my, potential business. So I would say just looking after yourself as well is really important, and asking for help when you need it. And surrounding yourself with people that are supportive as well is really, really important. Friends and family, other business owners.
Did you have like a set number of clients in mind that you're going to achieve that goal and then you're going to go full time? So what actually?
So what I actually did is I didn't.
Made that transition
I
happen?
actually just put all the money away that I was earning in those 2.5 years, which wasn't. I only had like one or two clients at that point, because one of the clients, like the one that I still have now, that was quite a significant, that was like a day's worth, so it was like 8 hours a week just of that one client. So obviously there was only so much I could do in a week, as well as all the other stuff we all have to do, like life admin stuff. So I sort of wanted to get to a point where I had like 3 months salary in the bank, in the business bank, so then I could go like full time. And I'm not gonna lie, my husband was literally like, what are you doing giving up your full-time job? Like, this is security. And I was like, I know I can do this. I know I can do it. And I just did it. I just took the dive, and I literally thought to myself, right, well, I've got like 3 months, if not a bit longer, because obviously I still had clients at that point. So I probably had about 4 or 5 months where I was like, I need to get more clients after that.
Sure. So it was very considered almost. It wasn't just like, I'm just going to do it right now.
No, because that just doesn't come naturally to me, like
Yeah.
to take risks. But I would
Well, that's interesting to
say
hear.
I'm probably more of a risk taker now than I was back then.
Yeah, sure. So you said you got your first client through a friend. How did you go about getting that second one? Because that's often the hardest bit, isn't it? You get the first client, and then
Mm.
it's like, how the hell do I even have the confidence to offer my services to other people?
So 95% of my clients have been through referral. So I have been recommended to clients for most of the work that I do, which is really flattering because it obviously means the clients are really happy. But it also means I don't do a huge amount of sort of my own promotions. I do a little bit of social media because it's important to what I do, but also I think it's really important to have some type of digital presence as a business. So I obviously have my website, I have my social media, so I do have those things. But I'm really lucky because I have the skill set for those things. So I guess that is promoting yourself really, because you are essentially marketing yourself. But most of my clients came from referrals and still do now, which is great.
What's the biggest mistake you see if you had to like put it down to one thing over the clients you work with in their advertising?
Been averse to change. So I would say being averse to change is really challenging because when a business says, oh no, well, we've always done it that way, we're going to still do flyers and see how they work. We don't want to do any more on social media. We don't actually want to spend money on that. Um, for me, it's really frustrating because a lot of the time when I'm recommending it to them, it's the best thing for their business. It's not like I'm just saying to them, right, I think you should go and spend all of this money and, use my services. It's actually genuinely the right thing for their business. So for me, I do find that quite frustrating um, because I see the potential a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was there ever a change you did make to a company which made like a massive difference to them? And if so, what was that change?
Yeah, so the first client that I was talking to you about, that I still have now, they had no social media channels whatsoever. They they are now on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And all in all, probably have, I would say, around 2 or 3 thousand followers across those channels, and that's all organic. So none of that is paid advertising or paid social media. So for me, that's a massive step because that particular business is it's probably not an industry that is particularly exciting or attractive for people. So it's quite a challenging one as well. So it's difficult to get content. Um, but the business, what I've liked about it is that they used to be quite traditional, but they have been so um, sort of trusting and have really understood that they need to be more digital. And I think that that has reaped rewards for them in terms of like the clients that they have and how they now can compete with similar people across the county who offer the same service. That's what makes them different.
Yeah. And that's really embracing, as you said before, that willingness to change.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, which is definitely good. Yeah.
Which is hard.
Now,
It's
Sure.
hard to do. I do get that as well because
yeah,
I find it hard. If someone says to me, "Oh,
Yeah.
actually,
Well,
this is a
people are
little
very
bit of
protective
feedback."
about their brands,
the
aren't they?
way they do things as well. It's like, let's not change that. We've done this all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's their baby. I can get that as well. Like I feel like that with my business. Like it's my baby. If someone suggests something, I'll go, "Oh, yeah, maybe," and I'm like, "Oh, this is how my clients feel when I tell them to do something different."
Yeah. Would you say networking, that's the most important thing a young founder should invest in, your network of people?
Yes, definitely, because I think it not only does it bring you work, it's a massive support system for you. So I'm a member of a number of different groups, some of which are also women in business groups, which I have found personally for me really important, because there's different issues for different people. Women in business, there is different, struggles and challenges and strengths as well that we have as women. And I think that having that network of people that you can speak to, there's some I can go to where I actually don't really go there thinking I'm going to get clients. I just go, oh guys, I've had a really rubbish week. I'm really struggling with this. Can anyone help me? And like 99% of the time, someone else will be having the same challenge as you, and will sometimes come up with a solution, or just say to you, actually, yeah, that's really rubbish. Like, I'm really sorry that you've had a bad week. I've been through that. It's going to be fine. I think you need that.
Sure. Talking of bad weeks, was there ever a moment that you felt like giving up?
Yeah, like a lot of the time. A lot of the time, because you get a few weeks ago I delivered a workshop, and I had someone in particular who was obviously really struggling, and like I took it really personally, because I was like, oh, I just don't know how I can simplify this anymore. How can I make it better for him? And for me, like I take that really personally, because that's just naturally like how I feel, because what I do is, like I say, I feel really strongly about being able to support people and help people. That's where the business idea came from, and is kind of why I do what I do. So, sometimes you think to yourself, oh, am I actually any good at this? You get kind of that imposter syndrome that everyone talks about. And you think to yourself, do I really know this? Especially because I work in marketing, it's so fast paced and things change so much. Like, I have to keep on top of things all the time. I'm constantly training myself. I'm constantly like finding out
Yeah.
what's going on. So it is really challenging. And especially those first couple of months I was in business, like there was so many sleepless nights where I was like, have I made the right decision? What happens if I don't get any more clients? And like, after the first month, I was like, oh, I haven't got any new clients yet. Is it going to be okay? Like, do I just get a job? Should I just get another job? Like, should I just go and work in Tesco's or something? And not that there's anything wrong with working in Tesco's, but something that's nothing to do with what I was actually was the aim, so that I could, get some money coming in. But I'm glad I didn't give up. But I think it probably happens a lot for a lot of people. Um, Business is really hard at the moment, and I'm hearing a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
If someone younger is listening and wants to start a business but doesn't really know where to begin, what would be your advice to them?
So my advice would be, find something that you're genuinely passionate about. Don't just do something for the money, because you will just get bored of it, and it's not easy. You have to want to do what you're going to do or what you're going to sell. Obviously I sell a service. Some people want, to make, I have one of my friends is she goes to craft fairs, and she makes some beautiful products, and she's really passionate about what she makes and what people like. She's constantly trying to create new things, and that comes from passion of what she's doing and a care for what she then delivers to her clients. So I think it's not a get rich quick thing. Like, you really need to
Yeah.
want to do it. And I think that if you've got a great idea, don't let anyone stop you. If you have got a real passion for it and you want to do it, then there's nothing to stop you. There's lots of support that is out there, that can help you get to where you need to be. And, I'm sure that if there is someone that actually is doing that business, if you reach out to them, like, I am very sure that 99% of people would be quite happy to support you in your venture, and like, answer any questions that you've got, because we've all been there.
Yeah, sure. If you could go back to the very start when you were first creating your business, what would you do differently? Really?
Because I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't have made the mistakes or had the journey that I had
You
now.
got to make mistakes and learn.
Like, and
Yeah.
someone said that to me when I first, I think I don't even know what it was that I did. It wasn't even like a big mistake. It was like a mistake that I'd made that just didn't have an impact on a client, but I felt was a big mistake. And they just said to me, well, you're not going to do it again though, are you? And I'm like, well, no, because I don't want to feel like this again. And I think that if you make mistakes, then it kind of shakes you again, because you think to yourself, right, there is a reason why I'm doing this, and it's because I care, and that's the reason why I'm so upset about making this mistake, or having this challenge. But it also then means that when you do achieve stuff, it makes it so much more rewarding, because you've been through the really tough times as well. So that I wouldn't change anything, nothing.
Was there something that you wish you could tell your younger self when you started out the company?
So many things. I would probably say to myself that it's going to be worth it in the end. All those late nights, weekends, saying no to social things. Um, and I think I probably would say to myself, don't be afraid to be honest at how hard it is with other people, and don't feel like you have to put on a brave face all the time, because actually I think it's really good to be honest and say that it's difficult sometimes, because then it means that there's people there to support you.
Sure. Okay, just to wrap up, can you tell us a bit about what's next for you and your business?
Sure. So really for me, it's building and growing the business. So I want to grow my network of freelancers and sort of subcontractors that I work with. And then in terms of business growth, I mean, I would like to take on more clients. Um, I'd like to be at a point where maybe in 15, 20 years time, I can sell the business and retire, would be the ultimate goal. Um, but I'm trying to keep myself quite grounded at the moment. Business is still really early for me, so it's only 4 years in. So that is still a really young business. So I guess I just needed to kind of just make some decisions, which I think there is a lot of big business decisions. I feel like you have to make quite a lot when you're working for
Yeah,
yourself. But yeah, that may mean employing people in the future. I don't know. I'm quite open-minded as to what the future looks like,
sure.
because marketing
Best way
changes
to be.
so much, and I think I'm just enjoying what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah. You said, okay, so you say marketing changes. So what are some recent changes? Like, has AI impacted it in any way?
So I think my biggest piece of advice to anyone using AI is use it as a tool. Don't use it as like the end point. So like, don't shove something into Chat GPT and expect it to come out with a lovely social media caption for you, because it will look
Yeah.
dire and it will not work. It won't be on your brand tone of voice at all. Like the rocket. Yeah, I know that's come from Chat GPT, or the lightning, or the little, like, there's
Yeah,
just telltale signs. It's like, by all means use AI, but like, please change it. Like, please, use it. Um, and
as a tool
it
to help you.
there is
Yeah.
a risk, I think, that we can use it too much and rely on it, and kind of lose the ability to write ourselves. So yeah, I'm a bit dubious of that. But also changes in marketing in terms of like what TikTok didn't exist when I first started my
Yeah.
business. It got banned in the
Yeah, that
US
has
in January. Like it can
really
literally change so quickly,
changed overnight.
which is really exciting, because it means people need me, and
Yeah.
um as long as I'm keeping up with those changes. But then that's a negative, isn't it? Because I have to then take time out of the business to learn all of that. And that again is a lot of time. So
Yeah. Sort of reflecting over the last 4 years of the company, what is one of the biggest mistakes that you've made and what did you learn from it?
um, biggest mistake I've made. I don't think I've even made any big mistakes, really, if I'm honest. Um, because I'm so diligent, and I go with my gut so much
Yeah.
when it comes to making
Yeah.
decisions about things. I guess my the biggest thing I've done wrong is probably underestimating just how hard it is to run a business. Like it's so much harder than I thought it was going to be, and I didn't underestimate it. I didn't think. I knew it was going to be hard, but I never knew it was going to be this difficult. And I guess that's because I think because I care so much, it probably is quite difficult. So
Yeah.
it's important to separate yourself a little bit from it all, and take care of yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
Sure.
100%.
Okay, just before we end, where can people follow you and reach out to you?
Sure. So my website is littlepiggymarketing.co.uk. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My tag is Little Piggy Marketing. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well. So Vicky Stokes, you can find me on there. And there's all sorts of useful tips. I do send a newsletter every month as well. So if people want to sign up for that, they can do that on my website, free of charge. Lots of useful information.
Amazing.
So yeah, lots of ways to follow me.
Great. And
Perfect.
one piece of advice for a young founder?
Just go for it.
Go for it. Amazing. Vicky, it's been great to talk to you.